Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, inspire you, and we give you some business strategies to help you up level your life, your business, and wherever else you need that little momentum for that day. And what an amazing, amazing guest we have this week. I'll tell you what, she has an epic podcast. I was blessed to be a part of it. And let's just get into it. Let's welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, Ms. Barb Allen. How you doing, Barb?
Hello, Daniel. How are you?
Man, I gotta tell you, when I saw your name come up that today you were gonna be my guest, I was like, yeah, right. You know, like we had a conversation last time, me and you. We just kept talking, and it was just so natural and effortless. And I was just like, wow, I can't wait to get her into the studio. So I know what an amazing person you are, but why don't you introduce yourself to the audience of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show and let us know who is Barb Allen, please.
Oh, all right. That's a tall order, my friend, because I suppose that question depends on the day or the time you ask me, right? For a long time, I was just that person next to you at the grocery store trying to hold it all together and not break down in tears in the checkout line because I was struggling so hard and nobody knew that next to me. You know, I've been the one on social media who people look at and think she's got this great life, this exciting life, and they don't see all the work that goes into it. I've been the one people have been a little jealous of. I've been one the people have seen on the news, and thanks God that they're not, right? And
Yes.
all of that has led me to where I am today, who I am today, what we're doing. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I have my third book coming out. I'm a co-host of the American Snippets podcast, which we were so blessed to have you on recently and got to share your energy and your joy and your insight with our audience. And we've been working together on our live events and bringing our platform to life in different stages with American Snippets. And that's where we're all in on today.
Wow, I was gonna try to write all that down, but that was way too much. But I love that. And you know what caught my attention that I want to open up with. I think it's a great segue to open up the show. Is you mentioned how sometimes jealousy, right? You've been that person that people have been jealous of. Elaborate on that, because I think right now what happens is I went through this, so I think that's why it stuck out to me is that the people that celebrated you at one time, they don't celebrate you any longer. So tell us
Yeah.
about that, because you said jealousy. So talk about that people were jealous of. Why don't you elaborate more on that if you don't mind, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, well, and I know that can sound kind of arrogant or conceited even to say that too, because it's definitely not the space where it comes from. It's more that people will see, not so much in the last year, the events and all that, but people hop on social media and we always we share what we do in our worlds. And prior to COVID, our worlds involved a lot of going to different places and meeting a lot of amazing people in person and being able to take a part in incredible experiences in person. And of course, just like we do wherever we are, we share the lessons and we share the insight and we share those things. Or if we get to take a vacation or do something cool or take the time off, this is the bigger thing on an everyday, because we work for ourselves, we set our own schedule. We'll be able to bracket in, you know what, today we're feeling a little run down, we need to recharge, reconnect with our perspective, which is exactly what I did today. This morning I needed to I said, I'm gonna get my work done on this own schedule, and I'm able to take some time and go spend a couple hours in the woods and reconnect with some things that are important to me. People see that and think, oh well, she doesn't really work, she's got this life, she could do whatever she wants, look at her, it's 11 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon or whatever time it is, and she's out in the woods and I'm at work. It must be nice to be her, like they just don't see the
Yes.
entire picture. They only see the parts that frustrate them and reflect it back on them, and it brings out their frustration. So that's what I mean by that. And it's just,
No,
it's
no,
the
no. I love
awareness,
it.
the
So, so,
perception.
so let me ask you this, because no, no, I know your heart, you're real, you're genuine, but I think we need to talk about this because how did you, when this first started happening, we'll just say years back, when this kind of first you noticed it, how did you handle it at first, and what did you learn through the process, and how do you handle it now? Because I'm saying this because a lot of people that supported me at first, and I'm not saying this, I know we're not coming from an arrogant or ego, but for me, I'll tell you, it hurt me, right? It just, because to me, it's like, instead of celebrating what I was doing, because I'm trying to provide a living for my family, first of all, right? Because I need to work. And then second of all, I'm delivering value, but the people that I noticed, like, people supported you up to their level of success. And once you
Yes.
kind of got equivalent with them, they're like, oh, okay, like, right. And then that's when the jab started coming. Then when you kind of surpassed them, and not that I'm better to surpass them, but just, started speaking on stage with Les Brown, and this stuff took off with the podcast. Oh, I get this a lot. So maybe you can help me interpret this. Oh, well, I know you're busy, so why call you? And I'm like, okay. And I've had many, many people say that. And I'm like, well, call me. I mean, I use Academy, but if we were friends, or if we have something that we need to talk about, or your family, whatever it may be, I'm gonna answer my phone. I'm not that busy, but I'm not even exaggerating. I get that a lot. Well, you're just busy, so we don't, like, why even bother? I'm like, wow. So elaborate on that if you don't mind, because I know you have a lot of wisdom, and I want you to share that with our audience, please.
There are a lot of times where people would say, at first, people would say, we didn't want to bother you with our problems because, my problems are nothing compared to yours. Right. That's how they would preface it. So even when I started to rebuild a little bit, or find a little bit of momentum and strength after all the pain I'd been through, when I started to just feel like a little bit better about myself, people would still say, well, yeah, I didn't want to bother you because I know your life is such a shit show that I'm not going to hit you up with mine. Right. Or they would say, and so that could be one perception. Like, I don't want to bother her because she's such a mess. She can't handle it. And that hurt a little bit more to see the reflection of me. Or it hurt a little bit to feel like, wow, have I put out that message that I'm unapproachable? Is this what I'm projecting, that I'm not welcoming people who I care about to reach out to me? And how can I work on that a little bit more? So I didn't know if it was something I was projecting, or if it was something they were projecting. In most cases, it was somewhere in the middle, right? And so I had to kind of dig into that a little bit. And if it's something that's from their end, there's not really much you can do about it, other than just to reinforce the fact, hey, I welcome your calls. It makes me feel good when you call me. That's what I would say to people to get around. I say, it makes me feel good that you think that I can help you with the problem. It makes me feel good that you think I have something to offer you. Thank you for trusting me with that. That means the world to me. But then you got to be careful, because then it goes the other way and everyone's like, oh, Barb's open for business.
Yeah.
Let's dump it on her. So there is a balance to be struck.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up, because I wasn't sure, maybe it kind of goes along with what we're talking about, because it's like, well, the fact that it may be some sarcasm. Well, you're so busy, right? From
Right.
the jealousy
Yeah,
aspect,
yeah, yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
like, well,
that too.
no, it's not that. So,
You
but
have more important things to do. You have bigger friends than me now, right?
yes,
Like
I got
that.
I
Yeah.
got a job like that today. So tell me, how did you handle that at the beginning? How did you interpret it and handle it? And what's the difference now in how you interpret that and handle it? Because I think our audience could learn from that today.
I took a lot more personally back then than I do now, but I had to really, really work hard. And sometimes I still have to work hard to keep myself on that path where I'm able to separate emotion from things and just look at things logically, not take it as a personal attack. But yeah, I get things like, oh, you think you're so cool now because you're doing X, Y, and Z. Or if I mention someone I'm working with, or, I was just really excited, for instance, Rob O'Neill. I don't know if you're familiar with that name. This is an example. Rob O'Neill, he's most known as being the former SEAL who shot bin Laden. So like that, and people in that community, they all know his name. And he's just somebody that I knew through one course or another. I met him at an event. We stayed in touch. We interviewed him. He's a person to me. And I was really excited that he offered to write the foreword for my next book that's coming out. So I shared that with a couple of people. I'm like, oh my gosh, Rob O'Neill is writing the foreword. Like, who knew? And I laugh, right? And I have to like follow up after him a little bit to get it done, because he's busy. Everybody's busy, needs reminders. I'm like, so, and I'm joking, like, here I am, I'm stalking the dude who shot bin Laden to get my, so to me,
I love that.
it feels absurd. I'm like, when you take a step back and just look at it, it's so absurd, the situation. I just never would have pictured myself, or I'm friends with this person. I know that person. And to me, they're my friends, they're my people, they're my network. But other people who don't operate in those areas, like, oh, right, you got to drop the names, oh, it's so great that you got this. I'm like, well, I can't help you with that. I can't spend time
Yes.
here, because I made an effort to get to know these people as people and try to bring value to them. And sometimes they're just nice people. Everybody is a person with a heart and a soul underneath. And that is what I make an effort to see first, beyond what any achievement they have or title they hold or fame or whatever they hold. I just connect with them as a person, or I don't. But the people that I do connect with and I try to bring some energy and my own presence and value to, they appreciate it or they don't. And the ones that do connect with me back, and then we have a relationship just like I do with anybody else in my life. And so I get tired of trying to explain that to people sometimes. And if you can't just laugh and see the absurd, like it is totally absurd. And people who know me, like, it's absurd. I was
Yeah.
crowned honorary Miss America. I'm on stage at the Miss America pageant, live at the Miss America pageant. I'm texting my friend. I'm like, I have Spanx and false eyelashes on, like, and I'm on stage getting crowned like Miss America. Like my kids are like, you're doing that, Mom? Like, they see the absurdity in it because they know me.
Yeah.
So I find myself in all these, I've been in such amazing moments and situations, like literally on stage at Miss America, like who would have?
Yeah.
And so to some people, I've been accused of profiting off of my husband's death from attention or finances, like I'm seeking financial reward or attention as the widow of a fallen soldier. And people weren't happy that I wrote the first book about his murder and the trial and all that, thought I was capitalizing on that. There's always going to be,
Yeah. Well,
you see what you're looking for,
yeah, I love what you said though. Don't take it personal. I think so many times when people come from a place of not celebrating, right? The word that we brought up was jealous, right? People are jealous or jealousy. People are jealous of you. When that happens, I love what you said. Don't take it personal. Somebody out there needs to hear that right now. You're keeping your light from shining. You're keeping that next level of success in your life and your business from happening because a friend or somebody made a comment, maybe your relative, and you interpret it like it was an attack on me. When in reality, I truly believe when somebody comes across as being that jealous or envious person, it's things that they're dealing with. Would you agree with that?
to a large extent, yes. And sometimes that person will actually mean it. Sometimes they are intentionally trying to hurt you. And that also is something that you have no power over. You cannot control or define or create somebody else's emotions or dictate how they're going to behave towards you. You can just put out the best that you have to put out, and you can only control how you respond to what their behavior is. You have to stop holding yourself accountable for everybody else's behavior and just
Yeah.
let that go. That's not your burden to carry. And sometimes I've been a jerk to people and not known it or not meant to, and they've had to let that go from me because I wound up hurting them without trying to, or sometimes I didn't even know I had, and I had to go back and apologize after, but so you have to understand it just works both ends. We want to forgive and be forgiven. So
Yes.
you just have to roll with it.
No, I love what you said, right? Because it's in that moment we're able to just really grow and not let circumstances and situations keep us from becoming that God destined destiny that we have. So when that was happening, did you find yourself or see yourself kind of dimming your light a little bit because it was like,
Yes.
well,
Yes. It's like, if because I'm on the tall side. And so if I would wear heels and stand next to someone that's shorter than me, I would crunch down because I didn't want to stand above them. And if they were annoyed, oh, must be nice to
I
be
love.
this
I
tall.
gotta
And then,
say, I gotta tell the audiences, for people that are listening on audio, it's like
yeah.
if you're seeing Barb, she's actually squatting down. It's pretty awesome. Thank you for the effects for Barb, but no.
I'm sorry. I don't know
No,
how to.
I love that. I love that. It's a compliment. So I'm giving the audience a visual of that. So thank
The
you for role
visual.
playing that. Yeah.
I don't know how not to go all in. I think that's a speaker curse, right? If you're on the stage, you gotta, whoo, I just hit the thing, but you gotta like go all out and go all in on it. But that's how I roll. So yeah, you do dim that. And I see that happen in a lot of people. I see a lot of people coming down from where they are. And actually I've seen people who try to diminish their own light or diminish their own pain because they feel like that's going to somehow hurt me. Oh, I can't complain about this, Barb, because you're in so much pain. Well, don't diminish what you're going through just because I'm going through something too. This isn't a competition. I'm not trying to prove who's hurting more. I'm not trying to prove who's come out of and climbed out of more. That's not what this is about. What's pain, the pain scale. I hate when doctors say on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your pain? Because everybody's pain level is different. I can crack a couple bones in my arm and I'll say a 7 because I've been in so much pain where I wanted to die before. And so that's a 10 to me. 2 broken bones, that's a 7. But somebody else breaks 2 bones, they're going to be like, I'm in 500 pain, so
I'm at 1,000.
I'm at 1,000. So it's just relevant. What is the worst pain you've been in? Let's compare it to that. So I don't ever want anybody to diminish what they're going through or what they're struggling with, because they're going to feel like I don't validate that for them. They're going to feel like I look down upon that, because there's people who've been through 5 million times worse than what I've been through, and I look up to them. It's all.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Relevant.
So you're growing as a speaker, you're an author, you're getting some influence and prominence, and then these little jabs come of jealousy and envy. When did you realize, or what was the aha moment that you said, hey, I'm dimming my light and I need to stop doing that?
Ooh, that was actually probably about 5-6 years ago. That was after I was in a very awful relationship I had let myself get into, and I invited this person into my home, in my life. He was an addict, but not just an addict. He was also like a narcissist on top of that. So there was abuse and different levels of abuse and emotional, physical, financial, all of that. And I wound up bringing myself down lower just to make him feel better about himself, to the point where there was almost nothing left of me. And
wow,
my kids had been damaged as well. And it was literally, I speak about this moment so long. It was my 42nd birthday. And I was outside and just feeling like a little bit of relief, because he was actually in a rehab and away from me. And I was in the process finally of cleaning him out. And the phone rings and it's him. It's my birthday. I'm like, oh, he's going to say happy birthday. At least there's some glimmer of, he's going to say, and it's a collect call from rehab from my ex-fiance. And he doesn't say happy birthday. He just tells me he needs more money, but he had cleaned out my checking, cleaned out my savings, stolen money from my kid. I was in debt. I couldn't pay my mortgage. I couldn't pay this. He had taken everything from me.
wow.
And he's telling me he needs more money. His mother was telling me if I leave him, he's going to kill himself and it's going to be my fault. Just on and on and on. And I hung up that phone. I crashed onto my knees. I started sobbing, broken, like I can't do this anymore. And then something hit me that said, get up and stop letting people squash you like this. And it was just that moment, that realization that said, I've been setting myself on fire to light other people up for so long, there was almost nothing left. And that's when I really had that moment that said, no more. I'm never going to let anybody make me feel like I need to diminish myself to save them anymore, ever again.
That's so powerful what she's saying, right? I know, ladies and gentlemen, get your pen and paper out. Barb is dropping some wisdom here. Something magical happens when you put pen and paper. You retain 80% of it. So take these notes down. She's dropping some massive wisdom here. You have to stop dimming your light, whether it's in your life or in your business. You cannot dim your light to make other people happy. That's what Barb is saying. You can't let people dictate what you're going to do in life. God has a destiny for you. You're listening to this podcast right now because right now, maybe you're at the crossroads, or maybe you've been beaten up emotionally, spiritually, physically, however it may be. But don't allow people to dim your light. And the scripture that comes to verse right now, Barb, is right. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. We're made to be that light to the world in whatever capacity that may be to you. That may be as a mother, as a business owner, as a speaker, as an author. But don't let the comments of other people or their insecurities, and it comes out as jealousy towards you and envy, keep you from letting your light shine. So you get the phone call, you get up, and then what happens? You go from a 10-watt light bulb to a 100-watt light bulb. What happened at that moment? You go to a LED, because somebody needs to hear this right now.
Just, but
Because
yeah, it,
yes,
it wasn't, I remember people saying to me, Barb, you keep complaining that so much bad things happen to you, but you have to put out good energy. If you want good energy, come. And I would be angry at them. How can you expect me to put out good energy when I'm in such hell all the time? Right. But in that moment, I got it. I got it. And I knew that it was going to have, I was going to, I had a very long battle ahead of me to reverse the fortunes in my life and reclaim my life and reclaim my pride and put it all back together, help my kids do all that. But I knew it had to start with me. And I knew it was going to be painful, but I knew that that pain was preferable to the pain that I had literally just stood up from a moment ago. I said, I will never be down there again, ever. And once you come to that decision in your head, it just starts slowing. It doesn't matter what other people see or think or feel. I remember I had my neighbor out there. This is a great, for instance, when she was complaining about the horse poop in my yard, yada, yada. I had broken bones and surgeries and abuse and all this stuff going on. I couldn't always shovel. I literally had arms and casts. I couldn't use. So one day I'm out there, I'm finally shoveling after I get him out there and my arm is hurting. I have braces on and all this stuff. And I call her over, I say, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm getting my life back together. I'm going to be more on top of picking up my horse's poop so it doesn't bother you, you know? And she looked at me and she said, that's okay. I just needed to see you trying. I just needed to know you were trying. And I thought, wow, how do you know somebody isn't trying? How do you know I'm not trying? All I've been doing every day was trying not to kill myself, trying to find a reason to go forward. And for you to look at me and say that you needed to see me trying, there was a point that would have broken me. But now I said, oh no, she didn't, you know? And so you just have to get to that point where, you know, it doesn't
yes,
matter if other people think you're trying. You need to know you're trying first, and then people will see it. But don't stop trying just because nobody sees you trying. Don't stop pushing
yes.
because people can't see you pushing. Just because they don't see you training and struggling and praying and working at 3 o'clock in the morning doesn't mean you're not making progress. They don't need to see it. It's none of their business. It's all about you. It's between you and God and yourself and your life. Nobody else needs to be brought into it. If you keep going, everybody will begin to see it. This person will, that person will. Your light is going to spread and shine until everybody sees your light. And then it's going to look easy. And then you're going to have people say, oh, that must be nice. And instead of apologizing for it, now I say, you know what? It really is nice. It is nice. Even the dark days, and they don't see the struggle. They don't see the stress we're under, the burden we have on. They don't see that. They just see when our light shines and how nice that must be. And instead of trying to explain that to them now, instead of saying, oh my gosh, but this is just after 6 months and we went through this, we went through that, I haven't slept, I've been so sick. They don't need to know that. I just say, thank you. It is actually beautiful. I'm so glad I didn't give up.
I love that. Because that's
End
actually
of
part
story.
of receiving it, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes God's taking us to that next level. And I think when we got our new house here 6 months ago, or in July, and over 6 months ago, and last year, it's like people say, "Oh, well, it must be nice to have a pool." I'm like, well, and you kind of like,
Yeah.
well, it must be nice to have a jacuzzi. I'm like, well, you know what? It is. I received that from God. You don't, right? My blessings are a consequence of serving God. Let me say it again. My blessings are a consequence of serving God. And even though it's hard sometimes physically to get up when to spend time with them, it's like, hey, you don't know what I do on the back end. You don't know how I wake up every morning. And that's what you're saying. So many times we're easy to be jealous or envious, but what about what it took to get there? And I love what you're saying. So in a sense, you're saying, guess what? I'm Barb Allen. I earned the right. I earned the right to let my light shine. I earned the right to do this because, and I earned the right. And I think this is where most people in business mess up as entrepreneurs. You have a right to enjoy it. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And by no means are we at the level where we are striving to be. We are far from a lot of those targets that we've hit, but we're further than we would have been if we never started. And when we find moments to enjoy, when we take the time to say, you know what, this is a perk of the path that we chose. It's all adventure. The whole climb, we love it. The climb is the blessing. People think the view is the blessing, but it's the climb. Being able, having the ability to do that is a blessing and a gift. And not everybody either has the support or the courage or the strength or the knowledge or the grit to do it, or the health. And we have those things and we're blessed by that. So we never lose sight of that. So we think the view wherever we are, we take a pause, we take a moment to celebrate it, because what's the point? That's what life is. We're not going to just wait until we get to a point to enjoy life, because life is so short. And I know more than anybody, you can be on the call with someone one day and say, I love you, and they can be dead in 4 hours and you'll never have that chance again, and or you could be dead in 4 hours. You just don't know. And I don't take a moment for granted. When there is something to celebrate, I don't care how small it is. I don't care if it's because I just spent 3 hours digging through frozen ground to go a foot down to my septic tank and save myself $200 when I didn't have it. I celebrated that. I celebrated that. I said, yeah, mother, I just did that, because I need to build the wins. If the wins aren't what I want them to be, I build up the feeling, I build up the momentum along the way. And so when people say that must be nice, I don't think they need to hear, well, for all these years, I wanted to kill myself. It's like, why? What value does that add to the moment? That doesn't show grace. That doesn't show inspiration. That just says, I need you to feel sorry for me to validate that I have joy now.
Yes.
No,
I love what you said, right? You're going to write this down. We think that the view is the blessing, and it's not the view, it's the climb. The climb is a blessing. And when you realize that the journey of becoming who we're becoming, the journey, the climb is the blessing, because you get to, I think so many, I was guilty of that, right, Barb? We're so quick to get to we want to get to the destination so bad that we miss the wins along the way and we miss the blessings along the way, when in reality, I love what you said, that the climb is the blessing itself. Because I look back now, when I started, I'm like, wow. And just the other day, I was a banner. Somebody asked me, have a picture of when you first started? Like, yeah. And I was looking at the banner. I'm like, wow, look at where I'm at. It's amazing. And I can tell you this, that God has amazing plans for you, Barb, and you haven't even imagined what he's going to do in your life. So you're going through this, right? You've had success. People are getting a little bit of, just kind of a little jealous of what you're doing. Where on that journey did Barb Allen, of becoming that speaker, that author, where did you lose confidence, and what did you learn about yourself in that season?
Oh, I lose confidence a lot, and I still, if I play the comparison game, it's very easy for me to lose confidence. I have to work hard to maintain it. I have to work hard to repeat these mantras to myself. I know you're big on those self-proclamations, repeat this after me, these affirmations. I have to do that myself to remind myself that I am worthy. I have come so far. When I start comparing myself to people who are where I haven't managed to reach yet, there's walls I haven't punched through yet. There's publishing and speaking walls and running this event, and walls I haven't managed to break through yet, for various reasons, some of which I have control over and some of which I do not. It's just the way it is. And so I have to remind myself that just because this person isn't seeing me or calling me to speak on their stage or be a part of their event doesn't mean that I'm not capable of that. I don't have value to offer, that I wouldn't do an amazing job. It just means I haven't proven that to this person yet, or this person doesn't know about me yet, or or they have somebody else, or, but if you just look back and say, oh my gosh, I missed out on this one. Why is this person getting that call? Why wasn't this person put me in their bureau? Why can't this publishing house call me? Why am I doing this on my own?
Yes.
I have to stop focusing on that. I have to look at all of the people who have stepped forward, people like you who trust me to be on your platform that you just won this great recognition and honor for. I don't take that lightly. I know that you are staking part, every episode that you do stakes your reputation on it. I don't take that lightly, that you are entrusting that with me, assuming it makes it to air. I'm just saying. I'm just kidding.
That's little backstory right
But
there. No, I tell you what, it's definitely going to make it. So don't.
but so I appreciate that and I respect that. And I'm like, well, if I had never done anything I'd done, would Daniel Gomez know who I am today? Would Daniel Gomez have entrusted himself to be on my platform? That is a gift and an honor as well, that you are placing your name and your work and your credibility in my hands to be on my platform. Would that ever have happened if I hadn't stayed the course, if I hadn't found this faith, if I didn't have the support, if I didn't have all of these amazing people? So stop focusing on what I haven't reached yet in a negative way anyway. Focus on that. That's a target I need to hit, but not in a negative way. Focus on as it being a challenge and an opportunity to grow and all this. But when you put a negative twist on it, it's going to bring me down. And that's something that's very easy for me to happen because of my past experiences and how I'm wired. I'm very susceptible to a total breakdown of confidence, and I just have to work hard to maintain it.
So mantras, right? Do you hear what she said, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
Write that down. Barb says mantras. I call them affirmations. It's the same
Yeah.
thing, right? Tomato, tomato. But the point is this: you're getting a male's perspective and an amazing female's perspective. Mantras work. So what's a mantra? So you're having this day, you're going through the day, and all of a sudden that creepiness of uncertainty creeps in. What's a mantra that you say, Barb, that you can share with our audience here that can take away, or two, whatever you feel that to share?
Well, the one that
No
is
pressure,
not very,
right? No
the
pressure.
one that is not very profound. I call all those things my voices and my enemies and my old past scars, and and I'm like, when I feel all of them coming back at me, I'll be like, not today, bitches. Like that's like that's
Go ahead,
it.
say
And
it.
I'm like, so if I feel that all coming, or I feel the people attacking me, or I feel things starting to whittle my down, I stand back up and I'm like, not today, bitches, But in the deeper sense, when I was working this job that I needed and I was able to provide value at, but I was just in a very dark time in my very, very dark time. And I'm all alone with I'm trying to raise 4 kids on my own, stop for groceries, clean the house, take care of the animals, be there at the kids' school, manage their schedules, show up for them, hug them, love them, and go to this job that happened to be at the cemetery where my husband was buried, which I had avoided like the plague for years, but it was a veteran services officer. I needed that job, but it was painful for me to be there. The job was miserable. My boss hated me, literally was on an attack against me, would come in, throw things at me, scream things at me. I hated it. I was at the lowest low, among the lowest low, but fighting to get it back. And every morning I would wake up, and before I would get out of bed, I would say, I am blessed to be alive. I am fortunate to have this day to be with my kids. Thank you for giving me a job where I can provide value back to my community again. I am going to strive to make this the best day that I can and be grateful for everything. I would say this every morning and not let anything else hit me, that, focus on that. And now every day when I wake up, I don't need to do that anymore. I'm away from that job, away from that person. But every day when I wake up, before before everything hits me, the stress, and I literally wake up and the first things I allow myself to think or say or speak out loud are thank you. Every day I start the day, I wake up, I say thank you. Very first thing in my head, to my whisper, to my cat, my dog who's sleeping on my face, whoever, I say thank you. And
Man.
that banishes, because when you put gratitude out as the very first thing, nothing else has a chance to come in. You've already established a tone for that day. That's it. As soon as I
love
wake up, I
that.
say thank you.
So I read somewhere, I can't think of where I read it, but they said the first 5 minutes of how you carry yourself, what you say, and your attitude is going to determine pretty much the rest of your day. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. The
Yeah.
first 5 minutes is going to determine how you approach those first 5 minutes of your morning, the attitude that you bring forth. And what Barb is saying, if you say thank you, God, if you just feel thank you for this house, thank you for the bed, whatever, thank you for something that I'm alive. You set the tone for the day, like Barb's saying, and not only that, your attitude just shifts, because now instead of being at a place of complaining or murmuring, you're like you put yourself in a posture to receive. So remember that. Write that down. The first 5 minutes of the day is going to dictate the rest of your day. I love what you said, Barb. So let's shift here a little bit, man. This is definitely going to air inside joke. So let me ask you, what makes Barb Allen, right? I mean, I know you're amazing. I love your energy, but what makes Barb Allen distinctive, and unique? What makes her distinctive and unique?
I mean, I think you'd be better off asking Dave that question because he's got his own list, I'm sure. And I think that depends on who you ask, right? But I don't know. I think,
Well, today I'm asking you.
yes, you are asking me. I think I just do things intensely. I think that's it. When I'm doing something, I'm in. It's, you can see, like, I'm up, I'm down, I'm all around. Like, I just, if I'm going to invest in it, if I'm going to bring it to somebody else, it's going to be intense. That's not always to the advantage. Sometimes it's the detriment, right? Sometimes I crash intensely, but I just do everything with intensity, and I work hard to help other people feel that intensity in their own lives, because I think that just translates out and ripples out into everything you do. And so I think that would be it. It's just humor and intensity. I feel like I can also give me 5 minutes with somebody who's having a terrible day. I can help them find 20 things they're grateful for, and I can help them find one thing to laugh about. I guarantee it. I guarantee it, right? And
You're
so,
hired. You're hired.
yeah.
Where do I send the payment? Where do I send the cash out to you?
I mean, I don't think you have a problem with that, but I can. And if somebody's going to open themselves up to that or sit down with me and have that conversation, I can help them find that gratitude, find that intensity, find that humor. And I think that is what sets me apart from how most people go. I'm going to say 75% of society goes about their lives. You and I, and this isn't a you and I are better than everyone else, like, by no means. Before my husband was killed, I was living down here on intensity life. I was happy here. I saw no reason to look beyond anything else. I was just all in on that life right there. But when he was killed, and when I went through that murder trial, and when I had to do everything else, my life intensified. Everything about my life intensified, and it intensified me. And that can't be shut off. You cannot turn that off. The only question is that going to be for good or for evil? Is that going to be for better or for worse? And for a long time, I let that be for worse. Now I'm letting that be for better. That's it. It was the flip of switch. I was stretched. My soul was stretched. My energy was stretched. It will never snap back.
I love
It
that.
won't.
I
And
love
so
that.
I just have to channel it.
No, that's amazing, because that intensity is going to definitely make somebody's day, because they're going to be like, "What are you doing?" Right? Like, why are you? Well, no, because I really care. And when I hear the word intensity, it just means that you really care. Is is a translation that I get.
Yes.
Because when you really care, you're intense, right? It's not like, I think maybe you can kind of elaborate on this, but with what you said is that in that intensity, it helps you to raise your standards, and it helps other people to say, like, "Hey, Barb Allen really cares," and it makes other people around you better, so their standards come up because of your intensity. As to if you just show up like, "Yeah, whatever," right? No, like, come on, let's bring it. I'm bringing my A game today.
Yeah. And there are times if I go into an environment or gathering where the energy level is down here, I have a very hard time staying at that gathering or that intensity, because I have to bring myself down, because nobody is in the mood for it. Nobody wants it. When I come in and I'm all like this, it annoys people who don't want to be up there. So I have to find the gatherings and find the platforms and find the people that want to live up here with us, because to somebody who isn't up here, doesn't want to live up here, I'm just annoying. So
You know what? Well, you're not annoying to me. I'll tell you what. We can definitely stay on the Zoom call or get on another podcast anytime. So I love that about you. So let me ask you this: what keeps you consistent? What keeps you fighting every single day? What keeps you consistent day in, day out? What is it about Barb Allen that is just that constant constant factor that gets you up, gets you going? Because I think many people in life, if they would just, I call it the valley of disappointment. They hit the valley of disappointment, and if they don't get the results, the expectations they want in life and business, and then they give up. And if they would have given the realistic expectation of maybe in 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, it's coming down the road. What makes you go every day? What makes you get up and put on your boxing gloves?
I would say first, there's a big difference between giving up and a tactical retreat. And I had to learn that myself. Sometimes sometimes backing off of something and making that tactical retreat. I gave everything I had to this relationship, to this life, to this job, to this pursuit. It didn't work out for these reasons. There's no value to be had going forward. I need to cut my losses and focus on something else. That's a tactical retreat. When you're not giving up on a goal or a level of fulfillment or society, but you're just giving up on that path to it, you run into a dead end, you're going to take a different path. And I had to learn that, because for a long time, when I would step away from someone who was damaging me, step away from a path that wasn't right for me, step away from a pursuit that I wasn't ready to achieve yet, some level that I wasn't ready for, instead of saying, I'm not ready for this, I tried to shoot too high too soon, I need to come back and learn a little more and go back. Instead of looking at that as defeat, I look at that as a tactical retreat. And that's what allows me to get up and make that next stab, because if I'm learning from it, if I'm growing from it, it's not giving up. It's a lesson, and I'm going to take that and move forward with it. But I also let myself sit back and just feel a loss for a minute, feel down. If I'm having a heavy day, if I'm having a really sad day, I don't always fight it. Sometimes I have to let it wash through me so that the energy can come back as well. So you just have to really get to know yourself, be very self-aware, stop looking at things as defeats, start looking as lessons and how you're going to grow, and stop letting all the people, I knew that relationship wasn't going to last. I knew she'd never get that gig. I knew her book would never sell. I knew this, and it makes them all happy. Who cares? That's not your business. Your business is what's in here, in your head and your heart. And stop letting them celebrate your lessons as defeat. Don't let yourself see it as defeat. Look at it as a lesson and move forward with it. That's what I have to
Wow,
tell
that was
myself.
some. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I told you you have to take some notes. Listen to what Barb is saying. It's okay to take a step back. Last year, when I almost broke my foot, I was forced to take a step back for almost 2.5 months. And what Barb is saying is, don't be in that situation where you're forced to take it. It's okay to you turn off the computer a little bit earlier once in a while if you just don't feel it that day at work. It's okay. It's okay to stay off of social media, and it's okay to let your body and your mind rest. Sometimes, you just need to be alone. You don't always have to be around everybody every single day all the time. And I think that that's something that you need to understand from what Barb just said, that if you take some time off, whether it's half the day, a day, a week, whatever it may be, it's not that you're defeated. It's not that you're giving up. It's the fact that it's a tactical retreat. I love that. Her and her military. I love that. I'm going to use that one. You need a tactical retreat.
Yeah.
So look at your life right now and ask yourself honestly, because somebody's listening to this episode and you need a tactical retreat. Rest. You're burning the candle at both ends, and it's like you wonder why you're not happy. You're wondering because you're not giving yourself a time to just heal and recover and really reflect. And I think one of the best things, Barb, that I've learned is, I'm trying to work on that because I don't always do it, but just reflect and look back and see how far you've come and see what God's done in your life. So thank you for sharing that wisdom with us. Let me ask you this. What is a scripture or a quote that you lean on when adversity comes and hits Barb in the face?
I don't have, I am not a scripture person. I have a very strong faith. Unbreakable. I will say my faith is unbreakable at this point in my life, but it's not scripture based or religion based. It's my personal experience based, but you could try, but it'd be pointless. You're not going to break it, so I don't know. I don't know, Paul. I think it would just have to depend on it, but I take a step back when it comes to overwhelming situations. And you have these bizarre situations where like disaster strikes in your house, things fall apart, animal dies in the middle of the night, whatever it is, like all these things happen. I will sit back and I'll look at it and I'll be like, in my head, because I'm a speaker, I'm a writer, I'm like, how long will it be before I can use this as a funny story in a talk? Or when you just I put perspective on it. Like at some point, this moment I'm going to look back at this moment and laugh. When is that going to be? That's going to be an hour from now, a week from now, 5 weeks from now, a year from now, depending on the severity of the situation. There are times I look back at moments from my husband's funeral where I just did absurd things, or said absurd things. And I laugh about those things now. I'm like, oh my gosh, remember when this happened? It's not funny, you know, like in the comical way, but I just have to put perspective on it, because there is something that you can find from any moment that is going to shine some grace on you, that is going to shine some humor on it. So, I mean, that's one of the things I do. I'm like, how long is it going to be before I laugh about this? If I'm sitting here with a broken bone, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a ridiculous story. Like the pain is excruciating, but it's funny. It's like, this is just ridiculous, you know? Or what is this trying to teach me? Like, what am I going to learn from this? What am I about to learn? What have I just learned? And I just try to put things. So I
I
ask
love
myself
that.
questions. I ask myself questions. It's not so much the affirmations. I ask myself questions like, you know, what is this moment about?
Yeah, I like what you said, because I never saw it from that perspective. So that's pretty awesome. That's why I love having amazing guests like you, right? This is definitely gonna air. So what's next for Barb Allen? What's next on the horizon? What do you got cooking in the crock pot? You mentioned your book. Tell us a little bit about that before, because we're coming to the end of the show, and I definitely
Yeah.
wanna promote you and add some value
Thank
to
you.
you. And tell us about that if you don't mind.
Thank you. We are, so, well, pretty soon I'm going to come up on the Daniel Gomez Inspire show, and that's going to be awesome. And then I have my third book coming out, and I am really excited about this one. This is my stamp, my trademark, my hallmark. It's called What Not to Wear to a Murder Trial and Other Tips Tragedy Taught Me. I love this book. It is not written to be the most profoundly worded book, well, not a great piece of literature, but it's pretty much like you and I just sat down for the past 45 minutes. That's what this book is. You're going to hear that in this tone in the book. I have some amazing people from our past podcast. I pulled quotes from our podcast guests and lessons from my life. And oh my gosh, it's great. I love it. It'll be out in July. Dave and I just rescheduled our Great American Summit for January 7th and 8th in Irving, Texas. We had to delay this because of COVID twice. And this is great. We're collaborating with people. It's about America's core values and connecting people, strengthening yourself, your family, and your community to strengthen your country, featuring all these people that do. Daniel Gomez, we might be calling you. Everything we raise is being given to our endowment fund and then distributed out to nonprofit organizations. So we won't be making a dime from this. This is about us making an impact and reaching people along the way. I'm really excited about this. I'm terrified about this. I'm not going to lie, but I'm excited about this.
Yes.
So,
Well, hey, count me in. I'm
yeah.
excited. I'd be honored to. Wow. But I
Yeah.
think I want the audience to get just how amazing you are. Like, look at when we started this episode, how Barb has come going up the mountain, not focusing on the view, but focusing on the journey. She's lost her husband. She faced another situation where, a narcissist boyfriend took advantage of her. And she still kept going. And then she had a neighbor, hopefully your neighbor doesn't hear this, a sarcastic neighbor that says, I just want you to just do something. But the point is she kept going forward. And sometimes all we got to do is just take one or two steps forward. And that's all God needs to keep you going in the direction that He wants you to go. Now she has an amazing podcast. Now she has working on her third book. And I say this because if Barb has been able to just really rise up and be the amazing entrepreneur, speaker, woman that she is, what can you not do? I think of the quote right now, right? That I think about the Zig Ziglar said, if God can take mold and turn it into penicillin, what can He not do with your life? Because Barb is doing amazing things. And I love what you said, Barb. I'm not even halfway where I want to go, right? And she doesn't say that in an ambitious way. But I want you to take a moment right now, Barb, and speak to the camera, speak to the mic. There's somebody out there that's fixing to give in. Tell them some words if you don't mind, please.
I would say never, ever, ever give up on yourself. Take a break if you need to, show yourself some grace. Never give up on yourself. And if you're in a place where you believe with 1000% of your heart and mind and soul that you will never feel joy again, you will never succeed again, this life, this happiness isn't for you. If you're feeling any of that, I want you to know you are not alone in feeling that. I have been there. I know so many other people who have been there. That is temporary. You need to just get to tomorrow, but Don't even focus on tomorrow. Focus on the next minute. Focus on the next 10 minutes. Focus on the next hour. Take that small step to get where you need to go. And if you're in an overwhelming situation, you can't find it, reach out to somebody, ask for help. Find those people. If you're afraid to do it in person, I found strangers online that I'd never met before. I found their stories and I was inspired by them and I learned from them. Then I interviewed one and I got to speak on stage next to another years later. It was beautiful. And you're going to find that too. There is 100%, there is a mentor out there for you who has been through something remarkably similar to what you're going through now. They're there. You can find them. If I'm one for you, call me. But you can find somebody who's been to where you are. Do not give up. You're not the only one who's going through what you're going through. And it is survivable. You can get through it. That's what I would.
Wow.
It's not very profound, but I would say that.
No, I loved it. It was perfect. It was perfect. How do we get a hold of you? Somebody's listening to this. They went out. I want to check out this Barb chick. She's right. Oh, she's talking about
she's
just overcoming. Yes, right. Not today, bitches. How do we get a hold of you?
I do say that too much. Not today, bitch. So you can find me Instagram, Barb Allen Speaks. American Snippets is my website. AmericanSnippets.com. We're there. You can email me directly, barb@americansnippets.com. I make it a point to get to the emails and get back to them as quickly as I can, depending on how fast they come in. But you got a thought, you got a comment, you can find, but goes AmericanSnippets.com is where we're at, is where all things that I'm doing are at.
Yeah, we're going to have all this amazing contact information in our show notes. So Barb, I had a lot of time. I could keep talking over and over, and we definitely need to do a part 2 for each one of us, right? But thank you for being a guest here. I appreciate you. Reach out to Barb. Like I said, if you need a mentor and you feeling like maybe you lost a loved one or your husband, she can relate to that even more. If you've had a narcissist boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Comes from both angles. Reach out to Barb. She was there. So that's a wrap for this week's episode. And if you need help, if you're stuck in business and you don't know what's going on, reach out to us at Shield of Faith Coaching. Go to www.danielgomezglobal.com. That's www.danielgomezglobal.com. And we'll definitely give you a free assessment, a discovery session on us, because we love giving back and delivering value. And remember, no business survives without sales or revenue. And with our Shield of Faith Coaching for your business, we'll definitely help you get over that hump. And once again, thank you again, Barb, for being here with us. And we'll see you next week here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show.
This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.